In the heart of a sprawling wildlife reserve, the golden sun bathed the landscape in warm hues, casting long shadows across the savanna. Here, nature thrived amidst a chorus of chirping birds and rustling leaves. Among the thriving ecosystem, a lioness known to the local rangers as Nia captured the hearts of many. With her sleek, tawny coat glistening in the sunlight, she embodied grace and strength, yet it was her role as a mother that drew the most admiration. Nia was fiercely devoted to her cub, a small ball of fluff that mirrored her mother's fierce spirit and playful demeanor. The bond between them was palpable. Every gentle nuzzle and soft growl spoke of an unbreakable connection forged through instinct and love. As they roamed their territory, Nia kept a watchful eye, ensuring her cub felt secure in their world. The tiny lion explored with curiosity, chasing after butterflies and pouncing on imagined foes, while Nia remained close by, ready to intervene at a moment's notice. This nurturing relationship flourished in the serene backdrop of the reserve, where the pair could often be spotted lounging under the shade of an acacia tree or playfully wrestling in the tall grass. They were a symbol of resilience and tenderness in the wild, unaware that their lives would soon intertwine with a human in a way that would challenge the boundaries between species, igniting a story of empathy and extraordinary connection. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow across the savanna, a wildlife photographer named Ethan ventured deeper into the reserve. With his camera slung over one shoulder and a heart full of admiration for the natural world, he stealthily navigated the tall grasses, eager to capture the essence of Africa's majestic wildlife. The rhythmic chorus of crickets and distant calls of birds created a serene backdrop as he moved quietly. Suddenly, a rustle nearby caught his attention. Following the sound, he found himself face to face with Nia and her cub. Awe washed over him at the sight of this regal lioness and her playful offspring, their presence commanding respect. He stood frozen, breathless, appreciating the beauty and vulnerability of these magnificent creatures. Every detail was striking, the way Nia's muscles rippled beneath her coat as she moved gracefully, the adorably clumsy antics of her cub as it bounded about, chasing after shadows. Ethan slowly raised his camera, careful not to frighten them. His heart raced with excitement, yet he was deeply aware of the privilege of this moment. He felt a profound connection to nature in its rawest form, realizing that his role wasn't just to document but to respect and protect this intimate scene unfolding before him. As he pressed the shutter, he caught a glimpse of something beyond the lens, an understanding that every creature has a story that deserves to be told. As Ethan marveled at the bond between Nia and her cub, an unexpected shift in the atmosphere made his heart race. Nia, usually aloof and protective, began to approach him slowly, her amber eyes locked onto his with an intensity that took him by surprise. The air was thick with tension as he sensed her intentions shifting, and an inexplicable connection formed between them. Ethan held his breath, unsure of what to expect. With each graceful step, Nia's demeanor transformed from cautious observer to a figure of trust. Then, in a moment that felt suspended in time, she gently nudged her cub towards Ethan, as if offering him a precious gift. The tiny lion hesitated for a moment, glancing up at his mother before taking a few tentative steps forward, drawn by the curiosity of this unfamiliar human. Ethan's heart swelled as he realized the magnitude of what was happening. Nia was not just presenting her cub, she was entrusting him with her most cherished possession. Emotions surged within him, awe, respect, and empathy, all collided as he knelt down to meet the cub's bright eyes. Nia's soft growls reverberated through the air, a mixture of encouragement and anxious energy. She seemed to plead with Ethan through her gaze, her maternal instincts unmistakable. In that extraordinary moment, the barriers between species began to dissolve, igniting a profound understanding that would forever change the course of their lives. As Ethan knelt before the cub, he noticed Nia's expression shift dramatically. Her once proud demeanor faded, revealing an emotional vulnerability he hadn't expected. Tears formed in her deep-set amber eyes, glistening in the fading light of the savanna, reflecting a profound mix of trust and desperation. The subtle shake of her body communicated a turbulent cocktail of instinctual understanding, a recognition that their world was becoming increasingly unpredictable. While she nudged her cub toward Ethan, those tears told a silent story. They were not just a display of vulnerability, but also a plea for help. In her heart, Nia felt the weight of the dangers encroaching upon their territory, the looming threat of poachers or dwindling resources. This moment was more than an unusual encounter. It was an urgent cry from a mother desperate to protect her offspring in a landscape fraught with peril. Ethan sensed this urgency radiating from Nia as she turned her gaze toward him. Every tear she shed seemed infused with the hope that he might provide sanctuary for her cub. The lioness's soft growls echoed like a haunting melody filled with both fear and reliance, binding Ethan to the gravity of her situation. The bond between them deepened in that charged silence. Nia's tears became symbols of both fragility and fierce love, a reminder that every creature's survival depended on trust, instinct, and sometimes a leap into the unknown. Ethan was consumed by a whirlwind of emotions as he knelt before Nia and her cub. The gravity of the situation hit him like a tidal wave. It was no longer just an extraordinary wildlife encounter, it was a moment laden with profound responsibility. He could feel Nia's desperation radiating from her, and his heart ached with empathy. How could he reconcile the instinct to protect this innocent cub with the weight of Nia's trust? As he looked into the cub's wide, curious eyes, Ethan felt a tug of war within himself. Accepting the cub might mean separating it from its mother, yet refusing to take it could jeopardize its safety in an environment fraught with danger. He recalled the conversations he'd had with fellow conservationists about the delicate balance between human intervention and natural instincts. This wasn't just about him, it was about respecting nature while also seeking to safeguard it. In that charged moment, Ethan recognized that accepting Nia's gift required more than just kindness. It demanded a commitment to both animals, a vow to protect them together. A rush of determination washed over him as he considered his next steps. He yearned to assure Nia that he would look after her cub with unwavering vigilance, but he also understood the potential rift this decision might create in their bond. His mind raced, weighing possibilities while feeling the palpable connection between them grow stronger, urging him toward a decision that would resonate far beyond this single moment. Determined to foster trust with both Nia and her cub, Ethan took a deep breath and slowly extended his hand, palm open and facing upward. He kept his movements deliberate and gentle, ensuring he didn't startle the lioness. As he lowered himself closer to the ground, he spoke softly, his voice steady and reassuring. "It's okay, Nia, I'm here to help," he murmured, hoping she could sense the sincerity in his tone. Nia watched him intently, her body tense but her eyes reflecting a flicker of curiosity. As the cub edged closer to Ethan, he reached out with his other hand, carefully stroking the soft fur of the little lion, who responded with a curious nuzzle against his palm. The bond between them began to solidify in that small gesture, bridging the gap between their worlds. Ethan turned his attention back to Nia, maintaining eye contact as he continued to speak in soothing tones. He understood that this was not just about comforting the cub, it was crucial to reassure Nia that her child would be safe in his presence. "I promise to take care of your little one," he said earnestly, sensing the weight of her trust resting on his shoulders. As he sat there, enveloped by the fading light and the sounds of the savannah, Ethan felt a profound sense of purpose wash over him. His compassion for wildlife had transformed into a commitment, a vow to protect both Nia and her cub in their time of need, creating a bond that transcended species. As the reality of the situation settled in, Ethan knew that simply comforting Nia and her cub was not enough. He needed to act decisively to ensure their safety. With a focused determination, he surveyed the area, searching for a solution that would protect them both. His eyes landed on a nearby tree line where dense foliage offered some cover. Ethan gently coaxed the cub closer, whispering encouragement as he carefully lifted it into his arms. The little lion snuggled against him, its warmth providing a comforting presence. Next, he turned to Nia, who watched him with an intensity that spoke volumes. "Trust me," he repeated softly, feeling her gaze weigh heavily on him as if she understood his intentions. With the cub cradled securely, Ethan began to lead them toward the safety of the trees. He moved slowly, mindful of Nia's needs and fears, ensuring she felt comfortable following him. As they reached the edge of the trees, he pulled out his phone and dialed the local wildlife conservation group, explaining the situation with urgency and clarity. "Please send help," he urged, detailing their location and the precarious position they were in. As he hung up, Ethan turned back to Nia, who had now stepped closer, her body language softening as she sensed his commitment to their welfare. In that moment of connection and trust, Ethan made it clear that he would not abandon them. Instead, he would work to return them to safety together, an incredible choice born from compassion and respect for their lives, intertwined in a fragile ecosystem. As Ethan waited anxiously in the shadow of the trees, reassurance filled him as he saw Nia and her cub nestled safely beside him. Just moments after he made the call to the wildlife conservation group, a vehicle approached, stirring up a cloud of dust on the dirt path. From it emerged two conservationists, equipped with tranquilizers and supplies, their expressions a mix of urgency and determination. Ethan rushed towards them, waving his arms to signal their arrival. "Over here," he shouted, his voice trembling with a blend of relief and excitement. The conservationists quickly assessed the situation, noting Nia's protective stance in the presence of her cub nestled in Ethan's arms. One of them approached cautiously, kneeling down to speak softly. "Thank you for your quick thinking," one of the officials said, admiration evident in her voice. "It takes a lot to earn a lioness's trust." Together they formulated a plan that would ensure both animals could be safely relocated into an area less threatened by human encroachment. With Ethan's help, they carefully transported Nia and her cub into a makeshift enclosure designed for stress-free transport. The team worked seamlessly together, showcasing a collaboration fueled by passion for wildlife preservation. As they secured Nia and her cub, Ethan felt honored to be part of something larger than himself, a community effort focused on protecting these majestic creatures. In that moment, he realized that compassion could ripple through actions, creating waves of positive change that transcended individual efforts and fostered hope for wildlife everywhere. The successful relocation of Nia and her cub had a ripple effect throughout the community. News of Ethan's encounter spread quickly, inspiring not only those in the reserve but also individuals who had previously felt disconnected from wildlife conservation efforts. Witnesses to the event recounted the emotional intensity of the moment, sharing how they were moved to tears by Nia's vulnerability and Ethan's compassionate response. Local schools organized field trips to the reserve where students learned about humane interactions with wildlife. Stories blossomed about Ethan's bravery, serving as lessons in respect for nature and understanding its inhabitants. Conservationists noted a noticeable uptick in volunteers eager to assist with awareness programs, all spurred by Ethan's example. Several months later, a wildlife photographer who frequented the reserve shared his experience with Ethan during a community meeting. "I saw a lioness trust a human that day," he said, voice filled with emotion. "It reminded me that if we handle wildlife with respect and understanding, we can foster connections that benefit everyone." These sentiments echoed through the gathering, highlighting how one extraordinary event can shift perspectives and forge lasting bonds. Ethan himself continued to advocate for wildlife protection, often reflecting on his experience with Nia and her cub as a transformative moment. He recognized that every act of compassion nurtured a deeper connection between humans and wildlife, reinforcing the idea that mutual respect not only safeguards individual lives, but also strengthens the fabric of our shared environment. In this way, Nia's story became emblematic of hope, not just for her lineage but for all creatures navigating an increasingly complex world alongside humanity. The extraordinary events surrounding Nia and her cub serve as a poignant reminder of the deep connections that can exist between humans and wildlife when guided by empathy, trust, and respect. Ethan's compassionate actions not only saved a lioness and her cub, but also ignited a broader conversation about the responsibilities we hold towards the natural world. This story illustrates how moments of genuine connection can inspire collective action, urging communities to engage in wildlife conservation efforts and foster a greater understanding of ecological systems. As more individuals share their experiences and reflections on Nia's journey, it becomes clear that each act of kindness toward animals can ripple outward, encouraging others to act similarly. This narrative transcends a single encounter. It highlights the potential for change when humanity embraces its role as stewards of the earth. The emotional bond formed during this experience teaches us that every creature has a vital role in our ecosystem, deserving of protection and respect. Ultimately, this tale invites us to reflect on our impact on the environment and challenges us to cultivate deeper relationships with nature. It emphasizes that true conservation stems from understanding and valuing life in all its forms, igniting passions that drive us towards preservation efforts. As we strive for harmony with the wild, stories like Nia's become catalysts for action, reminding us of the power of empathy in bridging the gaps between our worlds. In nurturing these connections, we pave the way for a future where both humans and wildlife coexist harmoniously.